I'm Lindsay Bennett, 32, and I'll never forget the sting of that Christmas party. My sister stood wineglass in hand, her smirk cutting through the chatter. Lindsay's little startup, she said, voice dripping with mockery. It's worth $1, nothing more. The room erupted in laughter. My dad's booming chuckle hit hardest while Mom stayed silent, eyes on her plate. Everyone laughed except me and my husband. I didn't flinch, didn't argue. I just sipped my drink, feeling their eyes on me. They thought I was a failure, a dreamer chasing a pointless idea in tech education. But I knew something they didn't. I'd spent months locking down a deal that would turn their laughter into shock. 1 month later, my sister called. Not to apologize, to beg. And this time, I was the one naming the price. Stick around to see how I flipped the script on their smug faces. If you're hooked on family drama and epic comebacks, smash that subscribe button and join me to see how this unfolds. Let me take you back to that night. The Christmas lights sparkled across the mansion's dining room. I stood near the buffet, clutching a glass of wine, the chatter of relatives filling the air. My sister Kristen, older than me by a few years, took center stage. She wore a tailored blazer, her confidence radiating as she raised her glass for a toast. To family, she began her smile sharp, and to those chasing dreams that don't quite land. Her eyes locked on mine, like my sister's little tech education startup. Good luck turning that into anything real. The room burst into laughter. Dad's deep guffaw echoed loudest, his hand slapping the table. She's got a point, he said, leaning back in his chair. Mom, sitting beside him, forced a tight smile, her fingers twisting a napkin. Now, she murmured, her voice barely audible, trying to smooth things over without taking a side. The cousins, aunts, and uncles chuckled, their glances darting toward me. I felt the heat rise in my cheeks, but I didn't flinch. I didn't say a word. I just stood there, letting their amusement wash over me. Kristen wasn't done. She sipped her wine, her gaze still pinned on me. I mean, teaching kids to code. It's cute, but it's not exactly Wall Street. Another wave of laughter rolled through the room. Dad nodded, his approval clear. Stick to what works, he added, as if I hadn't built a company from scratch. Mom glanced at me, her eyes pleading for peace, but she stayed silent. I could have fired back. I could have listed the schools using my platform, the investors circling my startup. But I didn't. I knew something they didn't, something that would change everything. Instead, I set my glass down, my movements calm. My husband caught my eye from across the room, his steady gaze grounding me. I gave him a small nod, and we moved toward the door. Kristen's voice followed us. Leaving so soon, she called, her tone mocking. Don't take it personally. It's just business talk. The room laughed again, softer this time, but it still stung. Dad chimed in. Let her go. She'll figure it out. Mom said nothing. Her hands now, still her face, a mask of discomfort. As we stepped into the chilly night, my husband squeezed my hand. You okay? He asked, his voice low. I nodded, though my chest was tight. I wasn't running away. I wasn't defeated. For months, I'd been working on a deal that would prove them wrong, not with words, but with results. Kristen's smug grin, Dad's dismissive tone. Mom's silence, they thought they knew my story. They thought they could define my worth. But I was already rewriting the ending. Walking to our car, I felt the weight of their judgment lift. I didn't need their approval. I didn't need their laughter to stop. I had a plan, one they'd never see coming. My startup wasn't just a dream. It was a machine I'd built piece by piece, ready to launch into something bigger than they could imagine. As the mansion's lights faded behind us, I took a deep breath. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. Months before that humiliating night, I was already building my plan. My startup, focused on teaching kids to code, was gaining traction, but I kept it quiet, especially from my family. I spent long hours in my Richmond office, a small rented space cluttered with laptops and whiteboards. My mentor, Diane, a former educator turned startup advisor, sat across from me one humid summer evening. You're close, she said, her voice steady, reviewing our pitch deck. This could be a game changer. Her confidence fueled mine, but I wasn't ready to share the news, not yet. Diane pushed me to think bigger. We'd been meeting investors for months, pitching our platform to venture capitalists who saw potential in connecting schools with coding tools. Your numbers are solid, Diane told me, flipping through spreadsheets. 5,000 students, 20 schools, and growing. Keep it tight and you'll close this round. I nodded, scribbling notes. My lawyer, Sarah, joined us via video call, her sharp eyes scanning contract drafts. The terms are favorable, she said, adjusting her glasses. But we need to lock in the lead investor first. I trusted Sarah's precision. She'd saved me from bad deals before. While I poured my energy into the startup, my sister kept texting, asking for loans. Just a few thousand she'd write as if my company was her personal ATM. I'd lent her money before, too many times back, when I thought family meant obligation. Not anymore. No, I replied to her latest message, my fingers firm on the phone. She didn't respond, but I knew she'd bring it up later, probably with a jab about my failing business. Cutting ties wasn't just about saying no. I took concrete steps. I removed my sister's access to a joint account we'd shared years ago for a family project. It's not personal, I told myself, logging into the bank portal. I also changed the locks on my office after Dad casually asked for a spare key. For emergencies, he'd said, but I didn't buy it. My family had a habit of meddling, expecting me to stay small to need them. I wasn't playing that game anymore. Every meeting with Diane and Sarah sharpened my focus. We refined our pitch, targeting a $10 million funding round. This isn't just about money, Diane reminded me one afternoon, her voice firm. It's about proving your vision. I thought about the kids using our platform, coding their first games, building confidence. That's what drove me, not my family's approval. Sarah sent me updated contracts, each clause tighter than the last. You're ready, she said during our final call before the big pitch. Just stay calm and close the deal. My husband was my rock through it all. Late one night, as I reviewed investor emails, he brought me coffee. You're killing it, he said, leaning against the door frame. I smiled, grateful for his quiet support. He never pushed me to talk about my family, never judged me for pulling away. He knew what they didn't, that I was building something real, something that would outlast their doubts. My sister's texts kept coming, each one bolder. You're ignoring me now, she wrote after I declined another loan request. I didn't reply. Dad called once, leaving a voicemail about family unity. I deleted it. Mom sent a vague message about visiting, but I brushed it off. I wasn't angry, just done. I'd spent years trying to prove myself to them, but their voices no longer mattered. My startup was my focus, and I was close to a breakthrough. The final pitch meeting was set. Diane coached me through mock presentations, grilling me on revenue projections. Sarah triple-checked the paperwork, ensuring no loopholes. I felt the weight of their trust, their belief in me. It was a stark contrast to the family dinner table where my work was a punchline. As I prepared, I kept everything under wraps. No social media posts, no hints to relatives. My sister, Dad, and Mom, they'd find out when the world did. I wasn't doing this for them. I was doing it for me, for the kids. My platform served for the future I was building. A week after the party, a text from an old colleague stopped me cold. Is your startup shutting down? It read. My stomach dropped. I was in my office, surrounded by monitors flashing code, when the message lit up my phone. The rumor didn't just come out of nowhere, it had a source. My old friend Tara, who'd worked with me in our early startup days, had been spreading lies. She'd told colleagues my company was on the brink of collapse, bleeding cash, and ready to fold. I stared at the screen, my jaw tight. Tara, who knew my struggles, who'd seen me build this from nothing, had turned on me. I called my colleague back, keeping my voice even. Where'd you hear this? I asked. He hesitated, then named Tara. She's been telling everyone at a networking event, he said. Said your platform's a flop? No investors, no future. I thanked him and hung up, my mind racing. Tara and I had brainstormed ideas over late-night coffee years ago. She'd left to join a rival firm, but I never thought she'd stoop this low. Her disloyalty wasn't just personal, it threatened my business at a critical moment. By noon, my inbox had 3 emails from worried clients. "Is everything okay?" one asked, citing industry chatter. I typed quick reassurances, promising updates soon. My mentor Diane called that afternoon. "Ignore the noise," she said, her tone sharp. "Focus on the deal." She was right. The funding round was days away, and I couldn't let this derail me. My lawyer Sarah texted, "Heard the gossip. We're airtight. Keep moving." Their support steadied me, but Tara's lie cut deep. Then my family jumped in. Dad left a voicemail, his voice gruff. "Heard your company's in trouble. Should have listened to us." Mom texted, her words softer but no less cutting. "Maybe it's time to rethink things, honey." Kristen was worse. She sent a message dripping with sarcasm. "Guess coding for kids didn't work out. Told you." I didn't respond. Their words felt like salt in a fresh wound, but I wasn't surprised. They'd always seen my work as a hobby, not a business. Tara's rumor gave them fuel to double down on their doubts. I dug into the damage. Another colleague confirmed Tara had spread the lie at a tech conference, painting me as a desperate founder chasing a lost cause. I pictured her all smiles, charming the room while tearing me down. It wasn't just gossip, it was sabotage. Investors could pull back if they heard this. Clients might jump ship. I felt a flash of anger, but I pushed it aside. Getting even wasn't my style. Proving her wrong was. I met Diane at a coffee shop the next day. "This changes nothing," she said, sliding a revised pitch across the table. "Your numbers speak louder than rumors." I nodded, flipping through the pages. Our platform had reached 10,000 students across 30 schools. The data was undeniable, but Tara's lie could still spook investors. Sarah joined us later, her laptop open to a contract draft. "If anyone asks about the rumor, we pivot to your growth," she said. "No one's walking away from a $10 million deal over gossip." Their clarity kept me grounded. I decided not to confront Tara. Calling her out would waste energy I didn't have. Instead, I doubled down on the funding round. I spent late nights refining our pitch, practicing answers to tough questions. My husband stayed up with me, reading over slides. "She's jealous," he said, shaking his head. "You're doing what she couldn't." His words hit home. Tara had always wanted the spotlight, but I'd built something real without needing applause. Kristen's taunts kept coming. Another text arrived. "Heard you're done for. Need a job?" I deleted it. Dad called again, suggesting I cut my losses. Mom sent another vague message about supporting family. I ignored them all. Their doubt, fed by Tara's lie, only made me sharper. I wasn't forgiving Tara, not after this. She'd crossed a line, and I wasn't the same person who'd let things slide. My focus was the deal, the investors, the kids counting on my platform. By the end of the week, I had a plan. Diane and Sarah prepped me for the final pitch meeting. We'd address the rumor indirectly, focusing on our growth and vision. I felt steady, not shaken. Tara's disloyalty hurt, but it didn't break me. Kristen's scorn, Dad's dismissal, Mom's passive words, they clarified what I already knew. I didn't need their validation. The funding round was my chance to show the world what I'd built, and no one, not Tara, not Kristen, not my parents, could take that away. 2 weeks later, my inbox exploded with messages. The news broke at 9 a.m. My startup, a platform teaching kids to code, had closed a $10 million funding round. Venture capitalists had valued us at $50 million. I stood in my Richmond office watching emails pour in from clients, partners, and reporters. My team gathered around, their faces lit with excitement. I announced bonuses for every employee, a small thank you for their late nights and belief in our vision. Cheers erupted, and for the first time in months, I let myself smile. Clients sent messages of relief. "We knew you'd pull through," one school principal wrote, confirming a new contract. Social media buzzed with congratulations, educators, parents, even students posted about our platform's impact. A kid from a partner school tweeted a game he'd coded using our tools, tagging me with a "thank you." My mentor Diane called to celebrate. "You did it," she said, her voice warm with pride. Sarah emailed a press release we'd drafted, now live on major tech sites. "This is just the start," she wrote. I nodded to myself, knowing she was right. Then my phone rang. It was Dad. "We're so proud," he said, his tone overly cheerful, as if he'd never doubted me. "This kind of success belongs to the family. Don't you think we should talk about what's next?" I gripped the phone, my knuckles white. He wasn't celebrating, he was staking a claim. Mom called next, her voice hesitant but insistent. "Your father and I helped you get here," she said. "We deserve to be part of this." I listened, silent, as they painted my years of work as their achievement. I didn't argue, I just hung up. Kristen took a different approach. She didn't call, she posted online. I saw her tweet late that night. "Some people get lucky with their little projects. Congrats, I guess." The words were sharp, meant to undermine. She'd linked to an article about our funding, adding a comment calling my success a fluke. Her followers chimed in, some echoing her snide tone. I scrolled through the thread, my chest tight, but I didn't respond. Kristen's attempt to diminish me wasn't new. It just hurt less now. I focused on what mattered. My team deserved this moment, and so did I. We'd built something real. Thousands of kids were coding because of us. I spent the day answering emails, thanking supporters, and planning our next steps. My husband joined me at the office, bringing takeout to celebrate. "They're scrambling," he said, nodding toward my phone. "You don't owe them anything." His words grounded me. I'd spent years chasing their approval, but this victory was mine. Dad called again the next morning, his voice sharper. "We need to discuss how this benefits the family," he said, as if my company was a shared asset. I cut him off. "This is my work," I said, calm but firm. "Not yours." He sputtered, unaccustomed to my tone, but I hung up before he could argue. Mom's next call was softer, almost pleading. "We just want to be involved," she said. I told her I'd think about it, knowing I wouldn't. Their sudden interest wasn't support, it was opportunism. Kristen's posts kept coming. Another tweet mocked our platform's cute mission, implying I'd stumbled into success. I blocked her account. I didn't need her noise. Diane advised me to stay above it. "Let the numbers talk," she said during a quick call. Sarah sent a legal note suggesting we monitor Kristen's posts for anything actionable. "Not worth it yet," she added, "but keep screenshots." I agreed, saving the evidence but focusing on our work. The celebration continued. My team planned a small party inviting clients and local educators. We shared stories of students who'd found confidence through coding. One teacher showed me a video of a shy girl presenting her app built on our platform. It reminded me why I'd started this. Not for Dad, not for Mom, not for Kristen. For kids who deserved a chance to create. By the week's end, the buzz hadn't faded. Tech blogs called us a rising star in education. Investors reached out, eager for our next round. I felt steady, not swayed by the praise or the criticism. My family's demands and Kristen's jabs were background noise now. I'd built this without them, and I'd keep building. The future was mine to shape, and I was ready for what came next. Days after the announcement, my phone buzzed with a familiar name. Dad's name flashed on the screen, and I braced myself. I was in my Richmond office finalizing a client contract when I answered. "We need to talk," he said, his voice clipped. "This funding changes things. The family could use some help." He launched into a pitch about a vague investment idea, claiming it was only fair since I'd made it big. I cut him off, my tone steady. "I don't owe you anything," I said. "This is my company, my work." He paused, clearly caught off guard, then muttered about family loyalty before I ended the call. Mom called next, her approach softer, but no less calculated. "We're struggling," she said, her voice trembling slightly. Your success could lift us all up. She mentioned medical bills, home repairs as if my startup's funds were a shared piggy bank. I clenched my fist, staring at the laptop screen. I built this alone, I told her, keeping my words measured. You don't get to claim it now. She sighed, trying to guilt me with talk of family ties, but I hung up my resolve firm. Their demands weren't new. They'd always seen my work as theirs to tap into. Then Kristen called. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. I'm sorry, she started, her voice shaky, unlike her usual sharp tone. I shouldn't have posted those things. I stayed silent, letting her continue. She rambled about her own financial mess, debts, a failed side hustle, and asked for a loan just to get by. Her apology felt hollow, a means to an end. No, I said flatly. You don't get to undermine me online and then ask for favors. She pleaded, her voice cracking, but I wasn't moved. Figure it out yourself, I said, and hung up. Kristen's words no longer had power over me. I turned my focus to something bigger. For months, I'd been planning a new initiative, one I'd kept quiet until now. My grandmother Helen had been a teacher passionate about giving kids a chance to learn. She'd inspired my startup's mission, and I wanted to honor her. I called my mentor Diane to share the idea, a community fund named after Helen aimed at supporting young people in education technology. It's perfect, Diane said, her enthusiasm immediate. This could change lives. I smiled, feeling a spark of pride. This was my legacy, not my family's. I spent the next day drafting the fund's framework with my lawyer, Sarah. We'll offer grants to students and startups in edtech, I explained, sketching out details. Sarah nodded, typing notes. It's bold, she said. And it's you. We plan to launch the Helen Fund with a portion of our funding round targeting underserved communities. I imagined kids like the ones on our platform coding their first apps, getting a shot at their dreams. Helen would have loved this, I thought, her memory driving me forward. My husband joined me that evening, listening as I outlined the fund. This is why you do this? He said, his voice warm. Not for them, for people like Helen. I nodded, grateful for his clarity. My family's demands felt small compared to this vision. Dad sent a text later, pushing again for a family investment. I ignored it. Mom left a voicemail, her tone sharper, hinting I was selfish for keeping my success to myself. I deleted it. Kristen tried texting a half-hearted apology, followed by another plea for cash. I blocked her number. The Helen Fund became my focus. I worked late researching grant structures and outreach plans. Sarah sent legal drafts to ensure the fund structure was airtight. Diane connected me with local educators to spread the word. The idea felt right away to give back that wasn't about my family's greed or Kristen's desperation. It was about the kids, the future, and Helen's belief in learning. I pictured her smile, her old lesson plans stacked on her kitchen table, and felt a quiet strength. By the week's end, I was ready to move forward. The fund's announcement was still months away, but the groundwork was set. I didn't need my family's approval or their involvement. Dad, Mom, Kristen, they'd made their choices, and I'd made mine. My success wasn't theirs to claim, and my vision wasn't theirs to dilute. The Helen Fund would be my next step, a way to build something lasting far beyond their reach. By mid-February, Kristen's smug smile was nowhere to be found. Word spread through industry contacts that her financial consulting firm had lost a major client. A colleague forwarded me an email chain where Kristen's client, a big real estate firm, cited her unprofessional online behavior as the reason for pulling out. Her posts calling my success a fluke had backfired, painting her as petty and unreliable. I read the email in my Richmond office, my coffee growing cold. Kristen's firm was bleeding clients, and whispers of layoffs followed. I felt no satisfaction, only a quiet sense of justice. Sarah called to discuss the fallout. Her posts didn't just hurt her reputation, she said, her voice crisp. They violated her firm's code of conduct. I nodded, though she couldn't see me. Kristen's attempt to undermine me had cost her credibility in a cutthroat industry. I didn't reach out. She'd made her choices, and I wasn't here to fix them. My focus was my startup now thriving with new partnerships after our funding round. Then Tara emailed me. The subject line read, "Can we talk?" I hesitated, my cursor hovering over the delete button. Her message was a long apology admitting she'd spread rumors about my company's collapse. I was wrong, she wrote, claiming stress and envy drove her actions. She pitched a collaboration suggesting our companies could partner on a new project. Her tone was polished, almost desperate. I leaned back in my chair, my fingers tapping the desk. Trust once broken wasn't easily rebuilt. No, I replied, keeping it short. I work with people I trust. I hit send and closed the email. Tara's betrayal had taught me to value loyalty over opportunity. My family tried reaching out again. Dad left a voicemail, his voice stiff, asking to discuss business. Mom sent a text vague but pushy, hinting at a family meeting. I didn't respond. Their attempts to claim my success had crossed a line, and I was done entertaining their demands. I changed my number the next day, a decision I'd been mulling over for weeks. My mentor Diane supported the move. "You don't owe them access," she said during a call, her tone matter-of-fact. "Protect your peace?" I nodded, feeling lighter. My husband agreed, saying, "They don't get to ride your coattails anymore." Cutting contact wasn't just about them, it was about me. I'd spent years navigating their doubts, their greed, their dismissal. Now, with my company valued at millions and the Helen Fund taking shape, I didn't need their validation. I blocked their numbers and emails, ensuring they couldn't interfere. My office felt quieter, my mind clearer. I focused on work, signing 2 new school districts to our platform. Teachers sent feedback about students building apps, their excitement infectious. This was why I'd started this, not for family, but for impact. Kristen's troubles deepened. A contact in the industry mentioned her firm was downsizing, struggling to recover from the lost contract. Her online posts had dried up, replaced by a strained silence. I didn't gloat. Her downfall was her own doing, a consequence of her words. My husband, reading an article about her firm's troubles, shook his head. "She thought she could tear you down and walk away clean," he said. I shrugged. Kristen's mistakes didn't define me, and I wasn't wasting energy on her. Tara tried again, sending a LinkedIn message. "I've learned my lesson," she wrote, offering to make things right with a joint venture. I didn't respond. Her apology felt like a transaction, not remorse. My startup didn't need her, and I didn't need her in my life. Sarah advised me to keep records of her messages just in case. "She's fishing for a lifeline," she said. I agreed, archiving the note but moving on. My team was planning a pilot program for the Helen Fund, and that mattered more. By the end of the week, I felt unburdened. My company was growing, with new investors reaching out daily. The Helen Fund was gaining traction, with local educators eager to collaborate. I'd built this life without my family's support, without Tara's loyalty, without Kristen's approval. Their consequences: Kristen's lost deal, Tara's rejection, my family's silence, were theirs to bear. I was free to focus on what lay ahead, my path clear, and my purpose sharper than ever. On a chilly March evening, I stood before a crowd in Richmond. The room buzzed with educators, tech leaders, and students, all gathered for the launch of the Helen Fund. Named for my grandmother Helen, the fund would provide grants to young innovators in education technology, giving kids from underserved communities a chance to code, create, and dream. I stepped to the podium, my heart steady. "This is for the next generation," I said, my voice clear. The crowd clapped their enthusiasm, a warm contrast to the cold night outside. The event was a success. Teachers shared stories of students transformed by our platform, and local business owners pledged support for the fund. My mentor Diane stood beside me, her nod a quiet endorsement. Sarah worked the room, connecting with potential partners. A young girl approached me after my speech, clutching a laptop. "I built an app because of you," she said, her eyes bright. I smiled, thinking of Helen's passion for teaching. This was the legacy I'd always wanted. My family wasn't there. I'd cut them out, Dad, Mom, Kristen, and felt no regret. Their doubts, demands, and dismissals were shadows I'd left behind. I didn't need their approval to know my worth. The crowd's respect, the girl's gratitude, the fun's potential, these were my validation. My husband, waiting in the wings, squeezed my hand. "You've earned this," he whispered. I nodded, feeling the weight of my journey lift. Looking back, I saw the lessons clearly. Setting boundaries wasn't selfish, it was survival. Believing in my value, even when my family didn't, had carried me through. My success spoke louder than their words ever could. I'd built a company that changed lives, launched a fund to honor Helen, and found a community that valued my work. Kristen's jabs, Dad's greed, Mom's guilt, they'd faded into irrelevance. I closed the event with a thank you. "I'm grateful for every one of you," I told the crowd. "You've shown me what community means." Then I paused, my tone softening. "I learned to draw a line with those who don't lift you up, even family. What's your story? How do you set boundaries?" The room stirred heads, nodding as people began sharing their thoughts. I stepped off the stage, my work done, my heart full.